You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Run. What happened? Are we live?
Yes.
Really? What happened to music? So what's up, everyone? Paul Paslakis. We are. Sorry, dude. I'm all out of sorts, Natalie. We had no music. If there's no music, how am I supposed to know when to start?
We did. On my end.
Not on my end. I didn't hear it. So what's up, everyone? Paul Paslakis here, or Jean Paul with this weird French mustache I have going on. We have Salvatore Cusmano, who bailed out and shaved his fucking mustache, and Brad Weisgerber, who probably should. Oh, he has shaved his mustache. I'm the only asshole with this stupid Frenchy thing.
Yeah. Bro, do you know what month it is now?
Yeah, but
November's over.
Bro, I've never grown a mustache, and I got this thing on my face. I'm going to let it ride. I think I'm going to let it ride until the end of the year.
You just keep doing that.
Yeah. I got nobody to impress, and when I go out, I can wear a mask. So who gives a fuck, right?
True.
If I was ever going to grow a shitty mustache like this is the time. Look at this thing, guys.
Just shave it so you quit talking about it, please.
No. Please. That's hilarious because you're like, please, God, dude.
Yeah, it's like every other day I see like a live post, like, how's it look?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm getting like updates. I'm giving updates. I got a lot of good feedback on that, by the way. I did a picture, and I probably got like 20 dudes are like, dude, keep it. It's fucking sweet. And I got like the girls are like, it's disgusting. Take it off your face. Including my kids. They want me to take it off my face.
Yeah,
Am I going?
I think you should.
I'm going to keep it. So guys, everybody that's listening, please go to irepodcast.com. Go to Facebook /IRE podcast. Go to your iTunes. Go to your Spotify's. And please like, share, subscribe. It really helps us out. And leave us a review. That always helps. So, Brad, Sal, we're in the throes of this winter. A lot of people got hammered with snow. We got a little bit, and it's getting a little dark and bleak. Oh, shit. But what I'll tell you is the housing market, Sal, I mean, I talked to you yesterday, and you're like, dude, we're like cranking, right? And we're pretty busy. We've got a really awesome guest on the show who's like a big part of Detroit. He's a Detroiter. He likes to invest in Detroit. He's a serial entrepreneur. His name is Jon Hartzell. John, welcome to the show, my dude.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Now that's a fucking mustache.
That's a mustache.
Right.
Oh my God.
I look like I'm going through puberty. This guy looks like Father Time. How's it going, brother?
Good. That's called PPE right there.
Personal protection equipment.
That's right.
Is that what that is?
That's right.
That's hilarious.
Blocks up anything coming in the nostrils, catches anything into the mouth. It's beautiful.
There you go. Yeah, you're actually protecting yourself from COVID. It's a COVID protecting layer, right?
I care about the world.
That's
so,
hilarious.
kind of to your point, you said your kids want you to shave it. This skin grows until my wife makes comment. Once the wife makes comment, then it goes. And I think she's messing with me because she's letting it just roll. It's getting thick.
Really? My wife is like, my wife is like, it's kind of like you're a different dude. So I'm like, you want to play stranger? So like, you know what I mean? Like,
Jesus.
Just close your eyes, honey. I was like, do you feel the mustache? She's like, I don't feel anything, Paul. It's nothing. Like, it's like your it's like puberty is going through my body. Anyway,
the first time she said that.
So John, last time we met, we had you on the show. We did a live show from your venue here in Detroit. And Sal, myself, and Brad were rocked on air. Remember that?
I do remember it. It was a great event. A lot of real estate agents were on in house. The world was allowed to mingle at that point. So it was a really good, really good day.
Seems like a lifetime ago, huh?
It does. It's sitting at home with kids watching films, and I get confused why people aren't wearing masks in the films now. So I'm now affected in life.
Yeah,
bro. I'll tell you a funny story about that. I was at Home Depot, and I wear my mask, right? Like you go in, it's a law. So I'm in the Home Depot. I'm in the self checkout thing. And I look over to the people behind me. I'm like, oh, those people look weird. I don't know why they look weird. And I was like, wait a minute, those assholes aren't wearing masks, both of them. And I'm like, how do they allow? Like, just wear a mask, just for like it's not because of you. Just wear them. It's like it's like sometimes you wear a condom because you're supposed to wear a condom, right? Wear a mask. That's all you're supposed to do. Jesus Christ. Right. So, John, you are obviously in the world of like development, Detroit, you're commercial. And so I'm really interested to see and hear from your perspective how you're handling this whole shutdown thing. Because obviously from your businesses, it's going to affect you. How are you getting through it? And do you like what's your plan coming out of this? Because, coming out of this, the people that prepare correctly, I think, are going to be successful. So what are you doing to survive this right now as a business owner? And then, go ahead, Sal. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think to the audience is like, why don't you explain your business too, like what it is, or
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I have 3 tiers to business. I have a construction company, I have a development company, and then I own and operate a food hall. So on that and the food hall, we've
all things that are booming. All things that are booming right now, right?
That's right. And I've expanded the food hall into a hospitality group, right? Picked up some other key players, and we're moving into other markets. So speaking about how you're solving it, right? The same as everyone else. Construction is different. Construction, has actually kept moving forward, and there's already contracts in place, and so that was functioning okay. And in that world, we got PPP, we got EIDL, we got grants and loans to carry that through. I think the construction world will see next summer the effects of delays and banks seizing up on funding, especially commercially for office and retail. Residential, they're still funding too and still moving. On the hospitality side, obviously that's been the hardest hit. The way we have our food hall set up, and we have really strong operators, and my partner and I have done really well to protect that business. And because we own our own parking lot, we have 10,000 square foot parking lot in the back, we've been able to create that outdoor oasis for the summer. And then just trying to navigate which way the wind is going to swing with the government into the health department and how they're going to interpret things. So like the last 3 weeks, we set up really nicely 2 large tents, one in our parking lot, one in our outdoor courtyard. And the courtyard is surrounded by containers with no roof. Well, the health department kind of nullified that, declaring that you have 4 walls in the containers, and even though your tent on the inside isn't attached, that's considered a partial roof. So even if you open all your walls in that, it's still considered indoor space. So we've lost like half of our tented system, but we still have 10,000 square foot.
I'm sorry to cut you off. So basically, if you don't have a roof, you're in open space. But by putting the tent up, now you have a roof, and that's going to catch the COVID in the roof?
That's right, you'll catch COVID. So my joke with them was, come on over and take your coat off like you're indoors and tell me you feel comfortable. But the reality is it's just interpreting the language, right? And I at least still have that 10,000 square foot rear parking lot that has a lot of open air, fire pits, heaters, and a secondary tent back there. So I'm still getting like 100 plus seats that are all COVID safe, which a lot of restaurants can't say that they can do that. So
they can't say that, dude. That's awesome.
They can't say that. And it's really interesting to see people are still comfortable being outside in the weather.
So what are you doing about parking though?
We own the lot next door, which leads into that 3rd tier of my business, my development company. So we own the 100 by 190 square foot lot next door, the 444 Peterborough site, which we've been programming to build a 21,000 square foot office retail building. We were hoping to break ground in June, and then the bank started squeezing up and just asking more and more questions and delaying. And then, we had permits in hand, and like early September, the first bank backed out, and just citing that, the uncertainty of COVID, they weren't comfortable. And we pivoted and went to a secondary bank who was really hungry in the market. They had just capitalized and they were just back in the market, so they needed to put money in place. So it looked like a perfect fit for us. And, we've got pretty good retail tenants already lined up. We got a handful of office tenants lined up. And then just 2 weeks ago, as we started staking the site and preparing to break ground, they backed out as well, just with the next tier of the government shutting down. And they're just anticipating next summer and in the foreseeable future that there's so much vacancy in the existing office and retail space that there's going to be some severe discounts in Class A sites. And so they just didn't feel comfortable backing that. So now we're at a point where that's where the development world is, right? Especially in the commercial retail. We're reprogramming, and we're looking really hard into live work on this building. So our retail is solid. First floor retail, it's all entry level retailers like we have the Detroit Shipping Company in our food hall. And so they're all very nimble, very small footprints and cost. So it's really an easy market for them to come in and do really nicely. A lot of them have online presence. So it's really just a place to come and touch and feel things. But they're really doing well online already. And it's the office second and third floor that was really causing banks the problem. So we're looking to convert that third floor into live work, right? So you program a 500 square foot apartment with a winding staircase into a office space and office setting on the second floor. So it gives you, especially depending on who you are, right? Are you the entrepreneur that lives in New York, has business in Detroit, bouncing back and forth, and you need a spot to sit, right? Are you gonna rent a house, an apartment, and then go find some coffee house? It's not happening right now, right? But you can come here, rent the apartment, have that spot, walk down, have an office space in an office setting, bunch of glass walls, seeing other people working and functioning. You feel like you're part of something instead of, again, just renting a 2-bedroom apartment and sitting in a dark room with one window.
Yeah, you should build that out and have GM put their, fly-ins up there.
Exactly. A lot of groups like
That's
that.
a really, really cool concept. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just really start
that's
pivoting.
Smart, John. Super smart. Like, and then John is I honestly believe this. The ones that are able to adapt and create and just adapt to the new world and morph their business and pivot will have success, because there is a vacuum being created on the other side of things, right? Yes, we might have lost the ability to have office space, but to your point, people are working at home. And what better situation than walk down your stairs and go to your office, right? You need that kind of separation. A lot of people don't have that. That's interesting that you are pivoting, and I do believe that that's a model that people are going to want over time. They're going to want to live and be able to go work and have kind of all the amenities of like high-speed internet, being able to print, right, do all that stuff, but have it in their own home and kind of separated. That's smart, John. I really like that.
Yeah, you really need to create that separation, right? A lot of people are trying to walk into another room and they have kids in the house, they have family in the house, and the honey can you just do doesn't really work out when you're trying to work, right? And no matter what you do in a relationship, the honey can you just do always happens. And that statement back is, if I can just do that, then I just can't do my work. I know you see me, but I'm not really here. Doesn't fly after a few months of being in the house, right? So you really do need that separation. And there are, like, again, I can earmark 5 or 6 entrepreneurial friends that I've connected with who are from out of country, out of state, who live and work in Detroit. I mean, they're only here half the time. And, there are a lot of times I've met them through, they're coming and taking meetings at Shipping Company, or I used to have the Bobby in-house, which had small offices similar to what I'm presenting here. And they'd come and just and plop down. You'd see them for a couple months and you wouldn't see them. So there's a market in that world. There's also a market for groups, like you said, GM and larger corporations who generally will fly people in and house them for a week, and then have that, set meeting points up for them. Here they can house them, they can control that space, house them in that spot, and then they can come to that little office downstairs and share, and it's still separated, so you're not walking through their kitchen.
That's amazing, John. That's a great concept, and I applaud you for not just laying back and letting things like being at effect. I hear a lot of people like, oh, this is shitty. Oh, this is fucking me up. Oh, I'm losing money. But there's a lot of people like you, John, that are like, well, I got to figure something out. So you roll up your sleeves and go to work, and that's kind of what you're doing. So kudos to you for actually like being forward thinking in that regard. So
to be honest,
now, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry. To be honest, it's my team at Detroit Rising Development, and Rick Stanza, Kirsty Hardy. I go for the crazy wild concept, and then they bring it back and say, hey, but this is a real need here. And so it's a great trio of people who are just kind of bouncing ideas. And we have really good limited partners, a lot of cash partners who will get in, weekly meetings, monthly meetings, and everyone's chiming in. It's a great think tank.
Yeah, dude, you're only as good as your team. I mean, if we didn't, if I didn't have Al and Chad, I don't know where we'd be. So, So, John, a lot of cities right now are seeing an exodus, right? You see New York, for instance, right? People moving out of the city in droves. Detroit's probably, it's a pretty big city, realistically, but it's not like a huge city. I mean, it's not like we have huge high rises with a lot of residential. We do have them, and it was getting really developed, right? Detroit was really moving forward. Do you see this pandemic causing any issues for our revitalization efforts in Detroit, or do you see that continuing out of this?
Detroit was doing 5,000 doors when they needed to do 20,000 new doors. So we weren't overdeveloping, and we had, at some point in history, the most single-family homes in a city compared to these other cities that have built dense-wise. So we're kind of flat and spread out, and so I think there's going to be a big push in the single-family home redevelopment over the next couple of years in Detroit, and it already was happening, and you're already seeing the numbers that make sense. We've done a few properties that purchased $40,000-$50,000 and end up selling at $300,000. So the demand is already there, and there's not enough property there. So I see that being viable. And we are quite a spread out city with a lot of open land. And so we're seeing people coming back to the city because you can work remotely, and they have that opportunity here, not just vertical. So I think Detroit actually was kind of not quite as far along as you were stating there, but to a good point where it's kind of going to be a comfortable push forward. And I think we're going to have that steady growth that stays with us.
Yeah, as much as Detroit, and John and Brad, you've seen this, right? As much as Detroit has really developed a lot in the heart of the city, around the downtown area, Sal and Brad, we've seen this. The outlining areas, you still see streets with no houses because they've been burnt down. You see a lot of residential areas that could use revitalization. And to your point, I think affordable housing, Sal, and Brad, will be an issue. And I think there can be a lot of affordable housing done in Detroit where people might be moving there as opposed to moving to like the suburbs or Royal Oak or Birmingham. They might be able to get a house on that outlier areas of like the development and get a house for 150, 120, 102, and that's a decent house in that area that might have been flipped, right? Sal, Brad, do you guys see that continuing, like the movement into the city where they can get more for their money?
I think it depends. I think everyone's agenda has changed so much through this, right? Because a lot of people were kind of held to what their work required of them, right? Where they be, because people aren't going to necessarily give up a good job because they either want to move into the city or move farther away or move to another city or whatever it is, right? But I feel like now people can, if the ability to work from home continues, can do what they want, right? And put their money really where they want it to be. A lot of people probably live in the suburbs or close to the city and wish they lived, on a land with a tractor and fucking chickens running around the yard, right? And vice versa. A lot of people probably are like, man, I don't want to live in Detroit. I want to go back home to wherever, St. Louis, right? Well, now they can. And I think that that's something that is going to probably change the landscape of real estate perpetually if, things do stay like this to our podcast last week, talking about this. I don't see things really going back to the way they were from come and work into a big office standpoint, right? I think it's a lot more like, to John's point, having these like live workspaces, right?
John, do you see that happening? Do you see that happen? Do you see more and more people working from home? And now that we were like almost like pushed into it, you know what I mean? Like it was almost like the evolution was fast forwarded because of COVID. It was happening anyways, to your point, right? But now, like someone in the Bay Area that works in the Bay Area that's got to pay fucking $2 million for a bungalow that's 1,200 square feet. They don't have to live there anymore. They can live in Detroit, in downtown Detroit, buy a nice fucking house. It's triple the size and work from wherever they want. I mean, the idea of being tethered to an area in the United States, I think that's going to go away. I also think companies are going to want to offer work from home because it's a benefit. Nobody wants to go to the office anymore, really, right?
Yeah, and again, it was already trending that way, and you started getting the co-work space, right? And it's just a little tweak on that is what needed to happen. And that was without a pandemic, people were already saying, wait, we need smaller spaces, just pop in desks, offices to support anyone when they're flying into an area or coming into the office or the city for the day. So those are already taking up a lot of square footage. And, the idea of 10,000 square feet for one business and one big open floor just is antiquated. It's gone.
Yeah, I see, John. I mean, this is what I see. Like for companies creating like cafe style places to work where it's like super chill, and they come in, they plug in, they have all their tools. Up to them to come in and work, and probably sporadic. And then you might have Zoom meetings, but I don't see the need for, to your point, 10,000. I mean, here's a question I have for you, John. What is a company like Quicken going to do where they have all this office space downtown? And they've gone to a situation where people are working from home and they're still being efficient. They're still writing a ton of loans, but Quicken has bought a lot of real estate in Metro Detroit because that's kind of what they do. What happens with that? Like, what are they going to do with all that retail space that they have that they potentially don't need anymore, dude?
Yeah, that's a great question. 10 years ago, my friend had me met her downtown in the Griswold building to get lunch, and she said, "Look out the window." And I looked out and said, "What, people are smoking?" She's like, "Yeah, no one was smoking last year. That's it's Dan Gilbert and Quicken Loan. That was 10 years ago, right?" And then he really filled that city up, and he put businesses in there, and he built out spaces, and as you have less and less need of that, are they going to quick pivot to the more live work? Are they going to quick pivot in those spaces? Because that would be a great conversion. I can see a need of that.
Right into residential.
Yeah,
get people down there.
Yeah, easy conversions.
Yeah, but dude, have you ever been we've been in the Quicken building, dude. They've spent a lot of money converting that to like housing. I don't know if that's like feasible. I just don't know what they can. Don't get me wrong, John.
Well,
they can.
Listen, if they put their employees in there, a lot of people could potentially go in there, and then they're also paying to live there, right? Or deducted out of their check.
Could you imagine if Quicken was like, fuck it, let's just create a huge dorm system while all our employees sleep, eat shit here, God. And they can plug in whenever they want. They'll get way more working hours out of their people. It's wild. Like if they did that, that'd be wild, right?
I could actually see Quicken doing something like that.
Yeah.
Dude. Of course.
My God.
We'll pay for your housing.
I mean,
yeah.
When I worked at Quicken, there were nights where I was there till 10, 11, 12 o'clock back in the day because we'd call Hawaii. But like there were days where I was like, man, if I could just sleep here, it'd be awesome. Right. That's when I was like, young and writing a lot of loans and whatever it was. But that idea is actually very, very tantalizing. Like, hey, I'm gonna go upstairs in my room. I'll be back later. See you guys later, right? I'm gonna go take a nap. Right?
Napping room's huge.
Right? It's just
the Winston Churchill room. You just go nap, come back, solve some problems.
Yeah. I think the idea of having a 40-hour work week is dead too, John, personally. I think we're gonna go to task-based employment where you have a job to do, and if you do your job, you're good. I don't give a fuck, right? But to have someone sit there for 40 hours and spend 10 hours of the week on ESPN while they're at the office, that just doesn't make sense, right? It's like, dude, get your work done. I don't care how you do it. Then go do whatever you want. You see that happening?
Right. I don't know. The hard part is you got to cycle out the 40 to 60-year-olds to end that, right? So I think maybe you're 10 years away from that concept. Though it's real in my world, in the entrepreneur world, right? I don't know in the middle management world that exists, right? I need to prove while I'm here. I need to improve, sales. I need to improve this. And I see a guy, he's got more time. Let me get more out of him. It's gonna take a while to get rid of that. And thinking about that and thinking about this, there won't be a total end of office space, right? It's just going to be shifted a bit. But what true trends? Does society ever move more than 10%, right? So like you might lose 10, 15% of people, not seeing, but even through this pandemic, right? You had a ton of people who didn't even believe there was a pandemic and wearing a mask, right? And so do those people come back and say, oh, well, it's changed. I don't want to be in the office. I also coach travel sports, and I had to argue with parents that you have to wear a mask or your kid can't play a sport, and they get an argument about it. What do you care? It's an hour. Just go sit in the corner with a mask on, or go sit in your car. Who cares? So, I mean, society doesn't move
people are
that
slow to
quick.
change. You're right. I agree with you, John.
Yeah, and businesses have a lot of money locked up in those spaces as well, right? And it's real. So
there's gonna be some push back, right? Like, hey man, I'm paying all this rent. I'm used to working 40 hours. I'm a dinosaur. I'm not forward thinking. I got to get some of my people, right? I just don't like the idea of I've always thought this, the 40-hour work week just doesn't make sense to me. Right. People end up sitting there doing nothing all day long. So it's just really interesting. So John, look at that. She put up the 40-hour. We're done talking about that, Natalia. We're done talking about the 40-hour work week. You can put that down. So John, what do you see happening in 2021? What is John doing in 2021? What is the economy going to look like? We've got a vaccine coming out that's really sounds like people are getting ready for it. You see if the vaccine comes out, there's a relief on that. You see a huge jump or push in economy, productivity, people going out, spending money, or do you see kind of people just still hunkering down, I guess?
Yeah, I'll push out my construction world because that just goes as flows. But I'll look at development and hospitality. So like in the last year, we've had to kind of transition a few hospitality plans we had or curb some, but others that we feel like, you know, they weren't going to open up till the end of 21, if not the spring of 22. We're pushing hard on, right? So like we're moving into Lansing, taking over their city market right in the riverfront by the Lugnut Stadium, building another food hall. We just see it's people want to be outside, people want to get together. We see that shipping company even through the pandemic. You know, Fridays and Saturdays we had hour waits, people waiting in their car to get seats. People want to congregate. You know, so I don't see a change in that, and I think you're going to take the summer to really build back into the normals. I think fall of 21, you'll get into normal retail. I think it's going to be back just as strong as ever, and finding some new trend that everyone's going to be doom and gloom on. In the development world, you know, we're buying smaller assets, right? Easy program, single tenant assets that, you know, we can be more nimble on and you know, pick up instead of trying to pick these bigger assets that are going to have are prone to failures of like that when you have all full sectors moving away. So like building this new building, changing the whole program to live work. We're going to try to find more existing spaces, rehab. There's going to be a good market for buying assets just sitting, right? So it's a buyer's market. We're going to see how construction prices go. That's going to be really interesting. That's really going to dictate the next year because that was a problem last year. And so if you slow down in that, how prices are they going down or are they going up?
And Sal,
material right now is pretty nuts, right? Like even the cost of the material, like wood right now, I hear lumber is really expensive. You know, like 3, 4, 5 times. Yeah. So.
And labor is expensive too now. Finding good labor is not easy. Like, it's funny. Growing up, it was like go to college. But in today's market, these laborers, these trades are really doing well right now because they're in high demand, right?
You're diving into a big social discussion that should have happened 25 years ago. The secondary effect, right? You're going to open up trade markets and we'll get cheap labor and cheap goods from over the country, and everyone should go to college. Everyone shouldn't go to college. Trade school is real, and trade school is viable, and it's a great life, right? And there's a lot of people, those C students who would have been A+ top level electricians, mechanical, electrical, plumbing guys, got pushed into college, which then became this whole market of securing, you know, debt and getting paid on the bigger corporations on these people's backs. You know, they took 6-7 years to finish because they didn't really belong there. It wasn't how their brain worked, and they come out into middle management jobs that were just being eliminated anyways. So, you know, go back 30 years and talk to the government officials there and say, hey, you know, you looked at today, you didn't look at, 30 years from now. Thanks a lot.
I think college is one of the biggest lies. Yeah, college is one of the biggest lies in our country. Like, go to college and you'll get a job and you're going to do great. Well, a lot of people get out of college. They have debt. They get a $50,000 a year job. They've got $60,000, $70,000 in debt. And they're never they're not in a good position. Whereas if they wanted to be an accountant, if they spent 4 years with an accountant every day working with them for free and not have any debt, they would have learned more. That's my thing. Now, unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, something specialized, you do need school. I agree with that. But if you're going to be like, I don't know,
you do need to go to school to be a CPA. But you know,
what's that?
You do have to go to school and get a degree to get a CPA. But I mean, I think college isn't necessarily a scam, but I think, you know.
It's a scam.
You do to be a certified CPA.
Yeah,
but,
by paper, but, you know, but if you wanted to be a CPA and you did the test and you worked with a CPA, if you didn't have that piece of paper, I bet you'd be a better CPA than the guy with a piece of paper. Is my point.
You wouldn't be a CPA.
Yeah,
I'm good with guys going to college to be a CPA, right? It's the 40% of kids who don't know what they want to do, and they just say, well, just take 2 years of classes, take some prereqs, take courses about American government and European history that will gain them nothing, that just cost you $1,000.
I don't think the problem is college. I think the problem is lower education, like high school and whatnot, right? You learn like all this general info and no one really steers you or helps to steer you in a direction of maybe where you're good. It's take this fucking SAT or whatever it is, right? ACT, and score as high as you can so you can get into the best school. That's your whole goal, right? Versus, and mind you, there are like trade programs and whatnot, like co-ops that, kids did in high school, and they go and they do welding or like leave for half the day, but it's almost like frowned upon, right? Like, oh, your kid's one of those co-op kids, right? He goes and does something else. He's probably like going to be like shoveling shit in a couple of years, right? Versus now that guy's, charging the kid who went to school, and has 50 grand of student debt, to go and fix his car or do whatever and making way more money. But I think, I think like you said, John, like these discussions should have been thought about 25 years ago, but here we are, right? So I don't think college is a scam necessarily, but I think, a better focus from parents and the people educating the young and trying to get them to do what they need to do is more or less the bigger focus. Because you could go to school if you somehow brought out that, like, man, I'm gonna be like a badass like historian or whatever, right? You go and you just take all the history classes and that's your shit and you become an archaeologist or whatever, right? Versus, well, I'm gonna go to school for a couple of years, get a liberal arts degree, and end up, coming out literally with nothing.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, it's, you brought the good point up, right? Prepping kids in high school to, have a successful run the next 4 or 8 years, right? I go speak at Detroit Southwestern High School and kind of do a graph on the board, and I show, the difference of going into vocation compared to college. And in the end, I show them a 30-year run out. And in the end, it's no matter which path you take, you work for 30 years. You're working and you get to this point. But it's the guys who get lost in the middle, who can't choose, right? Mm-hmm. And again, like they don't know what to do. I think that's the
reason why there's bullshit classes at college,
to help you figure it out.
Well, yeah, maybe help you figure it out, or hey, there's so many kids here, like there's not enough people to teach this one specific subject, and these kids got to get a X amount of credit hours. We'll just kind of create some classes that don't necessarily steer or do anything for you.
Right. The well-rounded.
Well, how Europe does it. You know how Europe does it. They have you test into college, and if you don't test into college, then you test into a trade, right? That's basically how it goes. Like, hey, like, take this test, and you're really good at math. You're going to be a mathematician. You really suck at all this stuff, so you're going to, but you're going to be great with your hands, right? They kind of choose the path for you because not everybody is built for college, and not everybody's built for trades, and not everybody's built for corporate. Like, everybody's kind of built differently. So I think kind of finding your voice in the business world is important, and not being afraid to not do what everybody else is doing. That's why I think college is such bullshit, is because it's the farce is that if you go to college, you'll be successful. It's not true. There's a lot of people that go to college and become lawyers that end up.
But I think it goes for everything. I don't think college is necessarily bullshit. I just think, it's your one life to make or fuck up. And however your path, whatever path you go down, whether you go to college, whether you go to trade school, whether you don't do either, whether you, get your MBA in whatever and end up, opening up a fucking super successful donut company. Who knows, right? I mean, it's yours to make or break, and that's what's great about our country.
I think the issue is college doesn't suck. College sucks because it costs too much money. I don't think anyone would turn down an opportunity to go try to figure out if college is good for you or not if it wasn't so damn expensive, right? Like, go take a couple classes. Is college worth it? Like, am I learning a lot? Do I want to continue this route? But I'm not going to go spend 20 racks to take 2 years of classes and then drop out. Like, it's stupid. College is a waste of time because it's so expensive.
Which the community college system allows that, right? Little taste.
Yeah, but that's frowned upon too.
Price.
But that's frowned upon too.
That's what it is. It's a stigmatism of, you need this, you have to do this, otherwise, you're a failure of some level, and that's what needs to change. I agree with that.
John, speaking of which, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to dive into, you had asked about 2021, and we actually have a handful of projects that we're going to be opening in 2021 that are retail based. One we love is Metropolitan Variety Store, and we kind of conceived this 2 years ago, and actually COVID's kind of proving its point. It's a blend of a boutique liquor store with a what's called high-end cocktail and restaurant together. So it's something you'd walk into a restaurant and a cocktail and make it for you. Well, right through a glass door, you can buy all those goods. So you have two sides. You have really well-educated curators, and so you walk into the shop, you get a booty base drink or whatever you want to call it, right? Bourbon something. And they go, what's in this? Well, this. You see them make it. Go next door. You can grab all those ingredients. And we've kind of grabbed the best buyer from one of the local markets, which he hasn't left his job yet, so can't announce him. Grabbed him. He actually came to me. It was kind of his idea 2 years ago. He sent me a text. If you open up a liquor shop, I would run it for you. And then, of course, I said, how about you open up a liquor shop and I'll support you. And then the way I work is I like try to blend items and make it more interesting. That's like, what if we did this concept? What if we added the actual bar next door with a well-curated chef behind it, and you had this double experience, right? And so right now, like the off-premise beverage is up 300% sale on year-on-year sales compared to restaurants and bars that are down 70%, right? So what we have been planning to do this is like you're combining the two best things, right? So you're offsetting each other. So we actually just recently bought the Craftwork restaurant in West Village, and we're bringing Brendan Edwards and Haley from Gold Cash Gold chef curators to run the food and bar side, and then again our other guys running the liquor side, and that's going to pop up in spring of 21. We also I think I told you guys before about our brewery that we've been working on for a year and a half, and actually just did because of COVID and how the world changes. We can't get out and shake hands like we normally do to get investors. Right. So now it's like it forced us to go into like this public forum and crowdfunding to like kind of put out this marketing, get pieces together. So we partnered up with a group called Honeycomb to actually source like debt, private debt coming in, and that was been 7-8 days, and we actually through that gained a bunch of private equity plus the debt, and we funded the whole project really quickly, like about 10 days of knocking that out. So we actually have projects like that popping up, and like I said, we're moving into Lansing on that, doing the Lansing Shuffleboard and Social Club, which is like a 11,000 square foot food hall there. But when we dive into an area, so like in Detroit, we dove in and did Detroit Shipping Company first, which led us into buying the 5 and Dime building, buying these couple other spots, starting doing construction management, investing in like small rehab remodels in the neighborhood, and really drawing other cash into that area. We decided we wanted to step out of Detroit and start looking elsewhere, and Lansing kind of popped up really nicely for us on this market. So we just closed last week on a 74-unit apartment building there. So it's like we're now going to that neighborhood and really start driving in new investment into the space of people who weren't investing in the area. So we actually 2021 looks really nice for us, and we're not afraid of COVID. You have to be aware of it. And even when it first started, we kind of mapped out a year in advance, and we already earmarked that in April of 2020. We said, the spring of 21 is where things turn. They won't be quite right, but people will get that, they'll have a year of fatigue, and they'll learn how to deal with the situation. We'll have some sort of vaccine, but the world, again, only adjusts about 10%. The fringe 5 on top and 5 on bottom will make adjustments, but everyone else kind of is really calm with how things work, and they kind of just, slide into it.
Yeah, it's really interesting that I think the ones that look at COVID as an opportunity that you can move forward, because a lot of people like people are in, or they're not working hard, or they're like, I can't do anything. And John, it sounds like you guys are like, let's plan, let's do stuff, let's get ourselves in position. So on the other side of this, we're prepared, which is awesome. Let me ask you this: how's the appetite for investment right now? Like you said, you raise money through a crowdfunding kind of source, right? Are you finding capital hard to come by right now in your space, or is there still an appetite for it?
Project by project. The residential 74 unit in Lansing, literally 2 weeks to raise $3 million. I mean, it was a really nice project. It really simple. The brewery.
You raised $2 million in how long?
In 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
So
that's
again,
awesome.
good previous partners, great relationships throughout, right? And so if you do right by someone in this business, they're going to take time to bring people into that, right? People want to share in success. And so that, as we're going and doing well in projects, we're starting to pick up that momentum, and we're building a nice base of people who've had good experiences with us. And even like through COVID, right? Like we've been super transparent in all the kicks, like I mentioned earlier, we had 2 banks back out on, and we've been very open, a lot of dialogue, and our investors have been great. And in fact, working with us, helping us, sending us other sources they know. So I think you find good people to work with, and it's gonna build for you. On the brewery side, that's been more difficult early, especially because there's been this downturn. People think that breweries are it's saturated market, but everything's about the operator, and look at that, look past just the title of the industry. So same thing, like my wife always talks about, be careful of restaurants. Restaurants have the most closings, but restaurants have the most openings. And the most people think it's an easy thing to open, right? Oh, I've got $20,000. I have this great meatball recipe. I'm going to open a restaurant. You got to be able to understand how to run a business, right? And so when the brewery came to us, these three guys who have been in the industry for 25 years, there's a guy who's in charge of the brewmeister, right? The recipes and the creation. There's an operational guy who takes care of the facility. And then there's the distribution guy, outside sales. And they had all three pieces locked up, and they're at different locations right now. And again, I'm not announcing their names just because they haven't left their business yet. But we looked at this and said, do we want to back a brewery? And it wasn't backing a brewery, it was backing these three guys, right? And their longevity at where they worked, they didn't bounce around a lot. Great reputations. One guy's, the guy, Brewmeister's got like 20 gold medals over his career in all the competitions. And then the key part is that off-premise sales. And that player, he's connected throughout the state, and he's connected in multiple states. So we have instant access to the places that a lot of these breweries that open up, who's just some like weekend warrior guy who likes brewing a beer and drinking out and thinks he's going to open a brewery. It's a business, if you don't know how to run a business, it's not so simple. So you'll see a lot of closings. So we just love that idea. It's the same thing with that Metropolitan Variety Store, as I mentioned, bringing in the two key players from Gold Cash Gold, and the third person who is like really well known and respected, has a good 10-year history at one location, and just wants to step into that next role of being an entrepreneur and control his own fate.
Yeah, man. I mean, Sal, there's a million mortgage companies, right? Like when we open up the mortgage company, we don't do anything that much different, but we're like, hey, we can create some success for ourselves because we kind of know our shit and we've done all right. But like to your point, John, I mean, it's not always just because when you said a brewery, I was like, fuck, man, another brewery in Michigan. Like, how many of those do we need? Like, are you going to end up like Big Buck? And you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of breweries that kind of open up. But there are some that do really, really well, right? And those are the ones that kind of like figure it out. And to your point, you can't just like have a little brew thing in your basement and decide to open up a brewery all of a sudden. It's a little bit more in depth than that, right? It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, you might brew great beer, but can you run a business to the markets? Can you keep your business going? Can you deal with issues? Can you do things like that, right?
Can you scale? Can you hire? Right.
Did you guys read the book Good to Great?
Yeah,
I have.
It's about people, right?
Yeah. It's always about people, dude.
Yeah, you don't look at the resume and say, well, this is the greatest resume. You have to make sure that person fits the culture, fits exactly what you're looking to do.
Yep.
And that's what we look at. When we go and back a project, we say, who are we backing? And like Detroit Shipping Company, right? You've been hit by a pandemic. You've got all these restaurants inside there, and we backed good quality operators, right? And again, a phone call weekly, and they're all working hard. They're all making the sacrifices and making it happen, right? Still pushing. I mean, we do an annual Thanksgiving. We cook 300 meals, and we deliver them to shelters. They all showed up this year. Pandemic, no pandemic. We're going to cook some meals for people. So it's the people,
right? Yeah, that's dude. Awesome. I agree with that. I agree with that completely. Do you see? So I'm curious. I'm going to get to 3 questions after this because we're running out of time. But John, talk to me about the marijuana industry. Is that something that's on your radar? Because it's big here in Michigan now, right? You're seeing marijuana shops open up everywhere. Detroit obviously has some. I mean, they're kind of sporadic, but licensing's kind of going through. It's going to happen, right? People are going to start opening up. There's going to be like a liquor store in every corner. Do you see that being a space that you want to get into, or is that something that you're like, it's hard, like it's too? For me, it's like I look at it, it's like so crowded. There's so much money in there already. It's very difficult to kind of break into that as far as like a business model. Is that something you guys want to do or no?
I've looked at it. I actually bought a house in a downriver community about 10 years ago, and a guy who used to work for me was doing grow rooms, and he actually, land contract was paying me like $6,200 a month. The land contract, doing this grow house in this place, right? It was amazing, and he just kept asking if I wanted to get into it. Just had no passion for it, right? And it's not my world. So I know it's great. A couple of our investors have some real estate that they don't do the grow or they're part of the business, but they lease out to that industry. I just don't have a passion for it, and I'm really driven by what we do, not what we make all the time. Like I don't care. I do care about making a profit and all that, and it's got to be a viable business. But I really want to be passionate about the projects we're doing. So I just don't have a passion for that industry.
I love that answer. You're not driven by monetary reward. You're driven by like success and purpose, right? That's awesome. And I think when you focus on that and when you do things that do like motivate you, you're going to be successful because you're going to want to progress, right? If you're in a marijuana business and you can't stand marijuana, what are you going to do? Now you're not, now you're just a greedy fuck that's trying to make a bunch of money, which happens a lot, right? So, all right, we're running out of time. Jon, we're running out of time. Anything you want to say before we get to 3 questions?
Nothing. It's been a great conversation, actually. Again, my goal right now in the world this is my ability to network, right? Is come on podcasts. So I'd love to just share that if anyone's interested in anything we're doing, in investing, or has a project that they think that would fit what we are and what we're behind, please connect with me, right? Email me, message me on Facebook. I love having a coffee with people and talking business.
I'll give you an example. I've got a friend of mine who does a lot of houses. He's been featured in Curb Detroit a lot, and he does a lot of flipping. And is that something that you want to get into? Rehabilitation of how? Like, what are the sectors that you really get your juices going? I guess would be the biggest thing.
If I were we do some residential, and it has to be right neighborhood, right house. Right. We like a little history in it. We like some detail. We'll take time to strip down paint on good old wood and bring it back. Right now we're doing a house on Helen in the Villages for a nice family, adding an addition on it. Very nice project. Really enjoy it. And they're putting in more money into that neighborhood than the house is actually worth, and they just brought more cash because they cared about the neighborhood. And so
that's awesome.
If you're going to invest in the surroundings and you care about it, and you're not just, I've been through a few homes where I've inspected for friends who are buying, and the house price is overpriced, and the people have torn out all the quality and putting in garbage material. So therefore they're stealing the money from the neighborhood, and they're trying to sell it for a profit. And then, you can just see inevitably in 3-4 years, the stuff's going to go to shit. I have no passion for that. Mm-hmm. So feel free not to call me if that's your goal.
Lipstick on a pig, Brad, right? Like a lot of flippers will go in and just put up drywall over or they'll rip out a really beautiful fireplace and they'll put in some shitty gas. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, kind of the workmanship is important. You actually care about your projects, Jon, which I think is atypical in our world because most people are greedy. But you really want to have some passion behind it, which I really appreciate. I mean, that speaks volumes on your character, Jon, and I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my partner Rick will just throw someone out the window if he sees him doing that.
Yeah, you're right. That's awesome though, because you've got standards, right? And you believe in your reputation. You'd rather have a good reputation as opposed to just making some money, right?
You're also coming into a neighborhood, right? And your investment in that neighborhood, you shouldn't be taking the money out of the neighborhood. That's the point.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, that's awesome. Guys, do you have any questions for Mr. Hartzell for 3 questions that you guys can think of or no?
Not that I can think
Nothing,
of.
Huh?
If you could, what was the one we did last week? If you could be a fly on the wall for any major historic event, what would it be? Any historic event, I would say.
Oh man, you know what is beautiful? It's Cuban Missile Crisis. And sitting by, I assume it was a fax machine or whatever they're using, and think about how many red lines they did in that simple message, right? Because we sit here in some contentious meetings and we'll look over a simple email, a paragraph, and you'll think about tone and every word in that, just because you're arguing about, again, some simple finish on a house. Imagine sitting in that room and how many times they rewrote that message, knowing that I'm sending something out that's going to create the fate, cause, a affect the fate of the world, and how much sweat and stress that was.
Right, like writing
one typo.
One typo, right?
Writing a treaty or writing a declaration of war, depending on what you say, right?
Dropping a dot,
exclamation point or a question mark. Totally different things.
Yeah.
Right?
What if you're a fly on the wall? You're a fly on the wall in that room, and it's literally just one guy just like, here, send this. And then just get it. That'd be wild.
They're all drunk playing video games, playing Pong. I'm just saying is next time you're in a shitty situation where you're writing an email and you're rewriting it 3-4 times, just say to yourself, it's not that bad.
It's not a fucking nuclear bomb, right? That's it.
That's it.
All right, John. Next question. What do you think is the single most reason people fail?
Ego.
Ego's a good one.
Ego takes over.
Ego's a really good one.
And you know, any business, you have to stop yourself, step back, and say, "Is this for my good or the business good?" And ego is troubling. And you know, I've been in a few situations where it took 6 to 8 weeks to get 2 business partners to get to a table and solve things, and it just cost everyone money, legal fees, and whatnot because of ego. Because neither wanted to be the one who said I was wrong. So I think ego is the biggest issue.
That's a great answer. I think you're right. I think ego can fuck a lot of any relationship up. Your ego can really fuck things up, right? So, next question. If let's see here. If you could be one animal in the animal kingdom, what would it be and why?
One animal in the animal kingdom and why? It's not even that in depth. Let me be an eagle. I just want to fly. All right, I'm gonna go fly and catch some fish and
fly like an eagle.
That's about it, right? That dude lives in some fresh air. He's chilling out, eating fish, whatever. You know, I don't know if there's any predators.
I go like 300 kilometers per hour. I watched this show oddly on Sunday when I was
just
hung
amazing
over on my couch, but it's like, Jesus, they can see 3 kilometers as well.
Zero predators. The world's their oyster.
Yeah,
there you go.
The peregrine falcon like dives at like it just goes like it's fast. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, dude, I think we've had this conversation before because you know some people say like birds or whatever, and it's like, can you imagine just like walking out on your porch and it's like going to work and you just fly,
fly
away, right? And don't start your car.
That'd be sick.
Hey man, I'm gonna be late today. One of my feathers fell out. Right. So, John, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you, dude, before we let you go.
Yeah, great. You can go on our website, DetroitRisingDevelopment.com. We have an info page on there. Things, you know, instead of me trying to give you an email address you're going to remember, just go right to DetroitRisingDevelopment.com. You can get right from there. You can get me. You'll get connections to my hospitality group, my restaurants, my construction company, and my development company.
It sounds like you're really open to people just having conversations with you, man. And I love that. Like having conversations right now is probably the most powerful thing we could do. So, dude, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate your business model and what you're doing for the city and just kind of your mentality on it. Like, I love that you're not greed first and your passion first, right? So really proud of you, man. You've done a really good job. And I really wish you the most success. We'll check back in with you after this COVID thing gets lifted and we shave our mustaches and we'll hang out. Like face
and you keep strong in that. You keep strong in that stash. You keep strong.
I'm not letting it go, dude. No, I'm doing it. I'm 40 years old. It's the first mustache I've ever had. I'm not letting it go. So, all right, John, be good, dude. Thank you again for doing the show, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, enjoy, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, man, I love that guy. I think I really like his mentality. I love the way he thinks. I love the way that he just thinks different, right? He took a bunch of containers, which nobody was doing at the time, put them together and made like a food hall out of it, which was like, what is that, right? But it works, and he's found ways to be successful atypically, which I love. I think it's awesome. I mean,
it is awesome. I mean, last night I was looking at places to eat outside with outside seating, right?
Yeah.
And this article came up 15 best places in Metro Detroit, and his was on there, right? The Detroit Shipping Company, just because there's nothing really like it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a friend of mine who like these places that have outdoor seating that are adapting. They're busy because people do want to go out to dinner. They want to have that social experience. I have a feeling personally, guys, that like once we get like the vaccine and shit, like hospitality is going to like blow up. Like people are going to want to go out, right? So there's going to be a or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
There might be a situation.
I mean, just like everything, it's like a rubber band, right? Or like a pendulum. It's swung so far one way, it's probably going to swing back the other, and then come back. I mean, just like
it'll settle in somewhere. Yeah,
cyclical, right? But
yeah,
I think the bigger question, or I think that the premise to a degree of like how our economy continues is how are things going to change with the work from home and whatever, right? Is that going to be permanent? Like John was saying, there's a lot of companies with big money in their infrastructure as far as offices and things like that go, right? If they can't repurpose them or whatever, right? What are they going to do? I think that, they're going to say, hey, come home, time to fill up this office. We got to use it. We got to figure it out, right? I mean, I think that could have some pretty big effects on things in the future, right? You got these people who move out, and I didn't want to, by any means throw shade at, last week's conversation, but they're like, oh yeah, they moved from New York and bought this $1 million home in Arizona, right? And it's kind of like, well, the fuck's going to happen when they're like, hey, you're a high level executive, you need to be in the office, and you got to come back to New York. What are they, I mean, it's possible, right? Now these people a year and a half in, you got to sell this house, maybe at a loss, whatever. I mean, these things are conversations I think to think of. And I just think that with everything, right, like you can't knee-jerk one way or the other, right? Well, I can work from home now. I'm fucking moving to wherever.
Yeah,
California.
dude. All of a sudden you're in Alaska, right? Yeah.
And then they're like, "Hey, dude, if you don't come back to the office, we got to replace you." I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, dude. It's very possible. It's very possible. I do think there's going to be a demand from employees that are going to want to work in companies that allow them to work from home, because I think that freedom that. Here's what's happened, in my opinion. Like, people have had a taste of freedom of like not being tethered to an office, not being tethered to a desk. And they're like, I can get just as much done. I'm just as productive. Fuck this. I want to work somewhere that's going to let me do that. And I think that's going to really be the driver. Like Ford, their executives might,
a perk, right?
Yeah. Like if you are working at Ford and they force you to come in the office, but you can go work at Tesla and work at your home, and you know what I mean? Like it's going to be a perk. And I think people are going to have to offer that because being able to work anywhere in the country is awesome, dude. Think about it. Like, I don't have to be stuck in Michigan. I can go work in Florida for 6 months out of the year and do what I got to do. I think companies that do that will get better employees. To be fair, it's just like, benefits, right? Some places will not do it. Some places like will force you to come to work. I think open floor plans are probably going to go away a little bit. I think we're going to see more segregation as far as like offices or like cubicles like you used to. Like these open area floor plans might not be great for flu season, right? Who knows? I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? I do know that things are not going to be exactly the same coming out of this, right?
They never are, pandemic or not, right? Things change perpetually. I just think this is kind of like a reset button. How's the program going to, reprogram itself, right? It's like there's an update that was downloaded, right? And you don't know what, it just said like Windows update, right? Big one. You don't know what's going to happen when you restart. Like, is my
you're restarting? It's going.
Typically, the programmer, makes changes or updates to that. So just like anything, I mean, we're just going to have to roll with the punches and or, take the advantages, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I think regardless,
okay.
Nothing. What did you say?
I was going to say, what are you seeing on the purchase market side? I know refinances are doing well. Are you seeing a lot of activity on the purchase side still, or is that slowed down?
I mean, people want to buy homes. People are doing well.
Yeah.
I think, looking at everything, right? I mean, are the people who are servers, and we've had this conversation quite a few times, right? Are the people who are servers or own restaurants trying to, buy new homes potentially, right?
No.
Most likely not, unless they're absolutely murdering it in like DoorDash or something because they've adapted.
Right.
But some businesses like shit. I mean, rates are all time low, right? Lots of people in the mortgage business are getting fat and buying homes or whatever, right? I mean, it's it's nuts for some people. And that's just one business out of, hundreds of thousands of different businesses that are out there. Some are flourishing and some are getting smacked. So if you're a part of the flourishing business, why would you not want to buy a new house at really good rates? Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of wealth being created because there's been a shift in spending, right? Online retailers are killing it, right? But like, I'm curious to see what happens with the holiday season and see what consumer spending is going to be like, especially without the stimulus. I think the stimulus got a lot of people through the last part of it. I think if this winter keeps going the way it is, we're going to see some layoffs, man. We're going to see unemployment going up over the winter because there's
there's been a big wave of shutdowns or changes or whatever, right? But this one was different, I mean, I think they kind of pinpointed like these things are things that can't necessarily happen, and everyone's already been working at home, so you don't have all these layoffs and big changes like they did before, right? I mean, people were getting laid off. Businesses didn't know what the hell was going to happen, so they were like, pause operations, shed whatever potential fat we have, cut salaries. Now it's like, another shutdown, right? We'll probably come out of this one, and then potentially in the spring have another one, depending what happens, right? But I don't know.
Do you think it's weird that we can go to like Home Depot and like Target, but we can't go have a dinner? Like, what the fuck's the difference?
Well,
it just makes sense.
There's a lot of things that are weird about the state that we live in right now. I mean, there's nothing normal about what we're doing at all. It's wild. And I don't know that it's going to be
standpoint of like the lawmakers or whatever. They're saying, hey man, you can stock up and go to the store once a week, and make dinner at home and not come in contact with other people necessarily versus, having to go out and go to the bars. Like, you don't have to do that stuff, right? But you do kind of got to go to Walmart or Target to get goods or whatever it is. So, and if they shut them down, I mean, it's like, it's pretty fucked, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a fine.
I will tell you this.
Line. No matter what they do, there's going to be people who are upset and people who are happy. They're never going to be able to hit.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'll tell you this. I do know that I'm hearing more people have COVID, right? Our neighbor across the street, she's Greek. I've known her my whole life. Her mom just died from COVID. She was sick. Don't get me wrong. She was not well, but she caught COVID and she died. We have an ex-employee whose father died from COVID. So before, you weren't really hearing, it wasn't that close to home to us, right? And I'm hearing more and more of that stuff kind of around me. So it's definitely going to affect people. I think this winter's going to be long, dude. I think we're going to be locked in our houses. Is it weird? Why is it getting dark at 4 o'clock all of a sudden? Is it getting darker and darker earlier as we get older, or are we just like, is it always the same?
You're just noticing it more because you don't go out at night anymore. So you don't, like, you used to probably not care when it got dark. You used to get excited for it. Now you're like, oh, I'm running out of daylight. Like,
I think people are used to walking out of work and it's dark versus I'm at home and like, I looked outside my window and it was bright out, and then 10 minutes later it's dark. I think that's something that you may be noticing, but absolutely,
it's the same thing, right? You're probably right. The world isn't like rotating differently.
COVID didn't change. Yeah, the time that the sun set.
The universal flow, right? I get it. Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, perception has changed a lot across the country. So, anyways, guys, Sal, Brad, obviously, as always, very enjoyable show. Next week we have Matt Ishbia, and I believe after that we've got Barry Habib. So we're rounding out the year with some really, really big names, and then obviously next year. We'll start over. Maybe we'll do an end of the year type show where we just kind of talk about stuff and just hang out. But for everybody that's listened this far, thank you so much for listening to our show. Please go and like, share, subscribe, every podcast app, Facebook. You can go to YouTube, wherever you want to go. We're going to be there. And if you want to see my mustache, go to facebook.com/IRE podcast. We didn't say penis, bro. All right, everybody. We love you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Be good, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.